So, do you want to be rich, possibly even a millionaire? I'm going to give you some steps and some easy to follow instructions on how to get there. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Adam Kahn, and I'm the Rational Investor. Hope you're doing well. Today is Saturday, it's September 23rd. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Figured I'd do another one of my talks. Hopefully, I don't ramble too long, but before I say anything else, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It really helps me out. It helps the algorithm that YouTube uses. And if you enjoy some of the content I've been sharing, hopefully others can find it as well. So let's talk about some steps on how to get rich. The first thing I'm going to tell you are things that we all know. It's save, put your money away. Whatever budget you have, whatever your income is, learn how to put some of it somewhere. It really doesn't matter too much what as to where you put it. You just want to put it into appreciating assets. What I mean by that is whether it's stocks, whether it's bonds, whether it's mutual funds, if it's collectibles, it really doesn't matter where you put your money to work. You just want to put money to work and you want to do it as early in life as possible because assets tend to go up in value over time. So the earlier you start, the longer time frame you give things to grow. So make sure to take a certain percentage of your salary and just put that away. I mean, I enjoyed collecting baseball cards as a kid. Now, most of the stuff that I bought as a kid really didn't work out so well. The market changed and everything else. So you have to think of it more like an adult. I try to stick to the things at this point that are more like blue chip stocks. I look for Michael Jordan cards or Babe Ruth or things that really I think will just slowly continue to appreciate over time. I try to think of the names that even my kid might know about, or I'll use my wife because she doesn't really watch sports. So if it's somebody she's never heard of, why would I want to invest in them? And I also try not to invest in the new players because I think of that as like penny stocks. You never really know what it's going to amount to. Now, keep in mind, you guys need to make your decisions for you. Like, don't take my advice. I'm just some guy who's sharing the experiences I've had. Reach out to your financial planners or find one if you want. Um, do things like that, but you need to decide for yourself what to do and just look at what I share. Hi, Winston, as entertainment purposes only. Now, that being said, invest in the things that you guys know about. You don't have to follow me. Pick the things that you find interesting that you know is going to have long term appreciation. There's a zillion things to invest in and buy that go up in value. I mean, art does, cars do, wine does, and I know nothing about these things, which is why I say find the things you know about. Whatever you find interesting that you know is valuable and continues to grow over time in value is probably a good investment. And in terms of stocks, I have the same strategy. I don't try to pick the new thing that's a high flyer going up or down and all over the place because maybe it turns into something, maybe it doesn't. I try to go with the boring old blue chip, continue to grow, and I try to give it as much time as possible. So in Singapore, for example, they kind of have this forced retirement savings of anything they make. 20% of their salary goes into a retirement before they even receive their paycheck. I think that's a good way to think of trying to save. If you can live off of 20% less than whatever you're going to make and just put that away before you even get it. I know some of you are thinking, I struggle enough as it is. Well, I stayed at home as long as I could to save up. And until I made enough money that I could actually move out and still continue to save, I didn't do that. On top of that, what I found is even if it was only $500, the small amounts that I saved when I was younger performed so much better because they had so much time to accrue versus the stuff that I did later in life. Even though as I continued along my journey, I started making more money and could afford to put more away in terms of dollars. The little bits that I saved when I was younger, it's amazing what time can do if you're lucky and fortunate and put into the right things. I know I've talked about it many times, but One of them was McDonald's, and I bought McDonald's when it was a mature company. This wasn't some, there were already those stories of those grandmothers who put $1,000 in McDonald's and made millions of dollars when I bought it. And the amount of money now, it was $2,000 that I put into McDonald's. Unfortunately, I don't still have it today, but when I've done the math, that $2,000 would be worth somewhere between a quarter million and $500,000. I don't know if I'm missing one stock split when I've done the math, but even on the low end, my God, $2,000 turned into a quarter million. Now, it's been about 40 years. So that gives you an idea of the timeline I'm talking about. It's why I say the earlier you can do it, the better off you can be. And you don't need to be making tons and tons of money. You just have to live below your means, cut back wherever you can. Whatever it is, like anything can be an excuse. Just, skip a dinner. Don't buy a Starbucks. Like even little things, you'll be amazed what $20, $30 here and there can do if it gets put away and saved for the long run. That can be the difference between having enough to retire versus working through the time you should be able to retire. And don't let what's going in the news scare you out of these decisions. Don't worry about the Fed raising rates or the economy or all the things that you hear out there. It might be true, maybe we see a correction, but if you consistently dollar cost average and you pick good companies or you buy real estate if you can, but you don't bite off more than you can chew, you stay in your budget and just continue to grow and save, eventually you'll find you have a lot of money put away and hopefully you can afford to retire at the ages you want to retire. And I know you might think, oh, but then life's not fun. I'll tell you, life is a lot of fun. And I do things that maybe you'd be really surprised about. Like, I don't go to Starbucks. I have an espresso machine that I love. Well, their pods, in my mind, are super expensive because I'll drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. And when I do the math, you can buy a thing of like 10 of their pods for 25 or $30. I don't want to spend $2.50, $3 for each cup of coffee. So what do? I bought 1 or 2 of the packs and then I saved the little pods. I rip the tops off. I fill it with my own coffee. And then you can buy these tops on Amazon and cover it back up and use it again and make your own. Puts my coffee down to like 20, 30 cents a cup. I know it all sounds silly, but I also know over experience and time, that's what's put me in the position that I'm in. If you Google search, you'll see 79% of millionaires out there are self made. I see so many comments on YouTube about, oh, their parents this, or mommy that, or daddy this. That's how you get rich. 79% of millionaires are self made. So don't get jealous. Don't look at people and make some assumption that the only way to get there is that their family helped them out. Their family helped them out, great, good for them. But 79% of the people are just motivated to push because this is what they want to make out of their life. You know, I started, so when I had my first job, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be in finance because what I wanted to do was make money and I didn't really have direction. My brother was working in Chicago at a place called the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and said, this is kind of exactly what we talk about. You should come check it out. Well, I just wanted a job and I had saved up so that I could afford, like I said, to pay for my apartment and everything else so that no matter what was coming in, I was okay. When I went down to the interview, I interviewed. They say, when can you start? I say, I can start anytime. He goes, well, can you start tomorrow? And I go, sure. I didn't even ask about pay. The comment the guy who was hiring says to me, well, normally we start people at $5 an hour, but I see that you have a college degree, so we'll start you at $5.50. So I always make jokes that my college degree got me 50 cents an hour. But anyway, the point of the story is my goal was to get to the exchange, to get in the position where I can continue to push myself up so that I could grow into things that would do well and make money. If you're always striving and pushing to that next level and you don't worry about this moment, that's how you get where you want to be, and you just make sure to save. If I had to stay in my brother's apartment, not appointment, if I had to stay in his apartment and share things and eat spaghetti, or tuna was cheap back then, it's gotten more expensive, or ramen noodles, or whatever it was, just to be able to save. Kind of like the coffee. I know that it sounds rough, but I didn't really see it that way. I just saw it as an ends to a means to get me where I wanted to be. And if you look at it the same way, it's not really depriving yourself, because in the end you get to relax a lot more. I'm so thankful now because I don't stress the way I used to. I don't worry about it. The way to get to that place is put away. And here's another little trick. Don't think of your saved money just as money. You need to think of that money as how it can work for you, and start looking at things like CDs and getting a return on investment, or dividend stocks. Now, I don't want to push dividend stocks too much. A lot of the people on YouTube do that, and what they don't share in the equation, their disconnect is, dividends aren't guaranteed. And the higher a dividend that a stock pays, the more risk they're taking. So right now, interest rates and CDs, which are considered, or treasuries, are considered as risk-free an investment as you can make. If there's a stock out there that's paying a 10 or 11% dividend, which there are plenty of, that's because they're taking on risk to do so. I can't tell you the exact risk they're taking on, but to get that extra yield, they are doing things that have risk in order to do that. Now, I don't want to be heard wrong, because I did a video that even mentioned one Jeppy in particular, because it's on a lot of the YouTube channels. I own it, but I own a tiny bit in my portfolio just because I know that. I even got a comment about, well, they're not taking risks because they have these that support the what's it called, the principal. Well, I looked it up because I was curious and I hadn't heard of what they were talking about, something called ELNs. Well, when I read about it, the reality is they've gotten so complex that it doesn't really guarantee the principal. That was the concept originally, but the product has become really complex. And all I'll go back to is, I know if something's paying 10, 11% return, they're taking on risk. I can't tell you exactly what it is, and I'm not saying you shouldn't take on that risk as well, but you should be aware. Same thing with dividends. If a stock's paying a dividend, it isn't a guarantee. If earnings slow or they can't afford to pay those dividends, they will cut them. One of the stocks I like right now, a couple of them are like that. I kind of like Cracker Barrel, and I like Pfizer. But the reality is, they've had a rough run. It's very possible they could lower their dividend, if not cut them completely. I still like these companies, and I don't think they're going out of business, but maybe they do. I mean, I bought Eastman Kodak when I was a kid because it was a staple, and they don't really exist today. And same with Chrysler. I bought the same way, thinking these were good, stable companies. Now, you can't be scared of that, and if you stick with stable, big companies, in the end, you do just fine. So again, I'm not a financial planner. Reach out to your own guys, make your own decisions. Don't listen to me. But don't be scared of the markets. Don't be scared of the Fed. Continue to do your job and make sure to put some of that money away, because it's amazing what 500 or $1,000 will do over 30, 40, 50 years. You'd be floored how that could be more valuable than $10,000 you might put away, that only has 10 years to grow. So that's how you become a millionaire. And even if you don't become a millionaire, I'll tell you this: the way to be rich is to live below your means, so that no matter what comes along, you have a little bit of savings to take care of it. Rich is just having additional money so you don't stress. If you're constantly using up every penny and overextending and living paycheck to paycheck, the minute something goes wrong, it's so stressful, it's overwhelming. Nobody needs that in their life. That's going to shorten your life. That's going to cause too many problems. Do the best you can. Make those tough decisions and save some money and don't spend as much. Anyway, Have a great weekend. Chime in, like. Don't forget thumbs up, subscribe, hit those like buttons. Do me a favor. It really helps out. Bye bye.